The BlokeBusters podcast is proud to be a member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other fantastic podcasts, such as Pencil and Ink Review, Another Damn Trivia Show, and Language of Bromance at podbros.com, as well as on most other fine podcasting services. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to share and enjoy the BlokeBusters podcast. Welcome to episode 68 of the BlokeBusters podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Paul.
And today, we're obviously very eager to get into this one. We, as the whatever title we've come up with, has led you to believe, we are talking about Captain America Civil War.
Yes. I genuinely don't know what the title for this will be, so it'll be interesting to find out.
Something along those lines. But, well, not a direct ripoff here. So, real quick, nuts and bolts, Paul, how can people get a hold of us?
Well, let's see. We're on Twitter at BlokeBusters, Facebook.com/BlokeBusters. You can email us, blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com. We actually do have an Instagram account. I set one up. There's 2 pictures on it right now. And just search BlokeBusters, you'll find us on there. And we have a little website, blokebusters.webs.com. And that's about it for right now.
Yep. All right. That'll do for that.
Yeah, I'll see what other random thing I can find for us to have.
Sure. All right.
So, well...
How's this film doing?
How is it doing? Well,
box office failure.
Well, first off, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, or whatever.
Directors of Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Winter Soldier, and they're also directing the Infinity War 2, Part 1 and 2. Okay. So, that'll be interesting. The budget... reported budget anyway of $250 million. I'm sure it was actually more than that, but that's the one I was able to find.
Yeah, that's what I see as well.
And as of 3 days being released in the US, that we are recording this the Sunday after it came out, and 1 week and 3 days after being released in the UK, Japan, Australia, and some other territories, $678,391,000.
Worldwide. Okay, worldwide.
Yeah.
I think domestic was like 155.
Just in the US, 27% of that.
Okay.
In 3 days.
But still, the US weekend take, I know, is like the 5th most all time, the highest weekend take.
Well, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, to be honest. I mean, no matter what we feel about the film, it's a Marvel film with all of the Avengers in it. Like, at this point, people will go and see it.
Yeah. Clearly. Which I don't know why Captain America.
Why are people
to
in
the
America?
rest of the world first? But oh well, first world problems. Okay.
All right. So, well.
Who's not in this movie? Let's read that list.
Who's not in this
It'll
film?
be shorter. We'll get out of here on time.
Morgan Freeman is not in it.
Okay, yes, that's true.
I don't believe Bruce Willis showed up yet.
No,
no Jim Carrey, but he might be signed on for something else.
No Sam Jackson, of course.
Not that I could see. No. That did kind of surprise me, actually.
Yeah.
But whatever. Alright, so who actually is in it? Obviously, if you've listened to any of our previous Marvel film reviews, or if you've seen the film, which hopefully is everyone listening to this at this point, or if you know Marvel, period, you know who most of the people are in this film, so we're not going to bother going into that. But the ones that you may not remember / don't know because they're new, Bucky Barnes was Sebastian Stan, and let's see, moving down the list, so the returning people that you might have forgotten about, Frank Grillo was Crossbones, aka the guy that Captain America dropped a building on at the end of Winter Soldier. And he's only in it at the beginning. So, and
spoiler.
I completely forgotten who he was until I ended up looking it up. So William Hurt is Thaddeus Ross, and I have pretty much forgotten everyone that was in The Incredible Hulk, so I'd forgotten that he was in that, but yes, Ross being the general from the Hulk series.
Okay.
And new people. We have Daniel Bruhl I'm not sure how to pronounce his name properly because he's got the umlauts in there.
He had that fantastic performance in Rush. That's what I know him from.
That's
mostly.
the guy there. He was Helmut Zemo, the bad guy basically. Then we had Martin Freeman as Everett K. Ross, and some people don't know who Everett K. Ross is, and I'm looking at you, Bear, from back to the podcast.
Shots fired.
Well, I was listening to theirs, and they were saying, like, why was this character even in it? What's the point? I'm about to tell you who.
Well, Martin Freeman, first of all, doesn't need to have a point to be in a movie.
He does not. Although
he can be extraneous, and I don't care, but that is not the case here.
Yes, they did bring up the fact that it's another example of an English actor being given an American accented character, but whatever. Like that happens. I mean, look at Benedict Cumberbatch in Doctor Strange when that comes out. But anyway. He is a character who, in the comics, was basically linked to Black Panther because when they made the comics, they realized that at the time, just having a black superhero who isn't as powerful as your Thor or your Iron Man, still a really good hero, but he's not up there. He wasn't going to succeed without someone else with him that might be able to act as the audience, say. So they had this white guy who is just with him and is as ignorant about the stuff that the character is for as the audience is. So he's the one that asks the questions that the audience would ask to get the answers that they need to progress. And I hope they're not going to go down that route exactly with this character, especially in this day and age. But I think he's basically doing that.
Okay.
He's going to be the guy that's with him, so that they can have someone in the film to say, "So why this?" And then we'll get the answer.
Fair enough.
And then we got as Black Panther or T'Challa is Chadwick Boseman. Very well done.
Wonderful. Yeah. We'll get into the bits and pieces. A little later here.
And then, of course, another one we're not going to go into right now. Tom Holland as Peter Parker.
We'll get to him. All right.
and Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. We'll get into that as well. So,
sure. Okay.
All right. Yes, and then everyone else. So,
absolutely, yes. Names mentioned as needed. All right.
So
now with the 4 minutes left in the podcast that we have, let's get into this.
Yes. What is this film about, Brian?
It's about some Civil War shit going on, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, they go back.
I didn't really pay attention.
A lot of muskets.
Yes. Well, this is, I guess, in a broader sense, how you make a compelling superhero film. Not the first of many BVS stabs that I'll be taking.
Just in case
with turmoil in that world. I could read the IMDb thing, but this is really about responsibility, about ownership of consequences and collateral damage. Who's best to run the Avengers or the government?
Yes. The one thing that I think I would end up on the side of Captain America, just because thinking about it, yes, they ended up dropping a city and buildings on on that little country out the way. They did stop the end of the world.
I think that buys you a certain line of credit for a while.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, these people died. Well, at least you're still alive to tell us that these people died.
Yeah.
There have been several times where we have averted disaster on a global scale, and you're annoyed that we knocked a building down. It is one of those things that if everyone were thinking big picture, they would probably end up on Captain America's side, whereas obviously you've got your Tony Stark character with having so much guilt over the stuff that has happened, especially given that his father's company that he was then running, he ended up finding out exactly how much it was just funding war. So, which I thought was brilliant, and they brought it up again that was the case, just in case you'd forgotten, but that Tony Stark is so racked by this. This is what is pushing his character forward.
Yes. fleshed out, flawed people with that you actually care about.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Where I want to back up just a little bit, because this film just hits the ground running.
Yep.
Just like Age of Ultron did. And I guess maybe back up even a little further. I know that the title is Captain America, but for all intents and purposes, this is an Avengers film.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the storyline that they took from, yes, it's the Avengers having this inner turmoil.
But I mean, if I'm putting, if I'm voting, is this go with Winter Soldier and First Avenger, or Age of Ultron and Avengers? I'm putting it with the Avengers and Age of Ultron.
Yeah, this is more an ensemble film than the previous Captain Americas.
Yeah, but I mean, just immediately right into the action. Just, kid in the candy store, jaw dropping. Once again, looking at you, Batman vs Superman. It didn't take us 2 hours to get to a decent action sequence. We're right into it.
Yep.
Although, and I loved it. I loved how it kicked off.
I will say that my wife had trouble with it, and she was saying that she had so much of an issue with the quick cuts and the obviously a lot of movement.
Well, there's a lot of characters, so there's a lot of ground to cover.
Well, yeah, but also the camera is moving a lot. Like it kind of shot like, say, a Jason Bourne action scene, all of those type of things. And I fully understand why she would think that, especially since she does get motion sick. So I can see why that would be the case. But I think it's one of the best flowing scenes in the entire thing. Like just the way the camera is able to follow, pretty much it feels like it's no cuts for the most part.
I was able to follow along pretty easily. I thought Age of Ultron, I mean, it started off much the same way. We're right into the middle of the action. I thought that was a little more confusing, what was kind of going on there. I totally get mean, what your missus would be saying there. But then, like we've just touched on that, immediately dealing with, this is a world where your actions have consequences.
Yep.
You just can't gun down people in a Batmobile and just be cool with it.
Yes.
So I love that. This is a real world. And we see that later, kind of jumping ahead with the conversation between Vision and Scarlet Witch.
Yep.
Just a beautiful scene. I don't know, what did you have a place you want to attack from here? Or
Well, I mean, obviously I've said my stance on it.
Yeah.
Let's say you were having to make the choice between the regulation or not. Where do you think you would stand?
It's tough, and this was one of my big notes too. Like what this film did. So one of the many things it did so well is that there's no clear right or wrong. Both sides are represented very well.
Yeah.
Each side has a compelling argument.
Yeah.
So it's not just like you're wrong. Why are you so wrong? No, it's a tough decision, and there's no easy answer. That being said, I think I would side with Tony Stark.
Okay.
I think
we
live in a practical world, and there needs to be oversight. Now, does oversight always work? No, of course not. But I think it's the best recourse for the world they live in.
And and we're not going to just make the rest of this us putting point back and
Let's
forth.
talk politics the rest of this.
But let's say that another super person comes along and you realise that they are someone that could end the world again, shall we say? But the people that are in charge don't recognise it as a threat immediately. Do you still act and ignore that, or do you wait until they decide?
I'm glad I'm not the one that would have to make that decision.
Yes.
Is what my answer is.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I'm of the opinion that if you believe there's a credible threat, then you should do what you can to. That's me, and apparently that's Captain America, which is me and Cap, two peas in the pod right there.
Yes, I mean, two sides of a coin, as it were.
Now I guess one thing that I mentioned in the pre-war thing that we put out, talking about it, was I was wondering why Black Widow would end up where she did, given what her character is, and why would someone that doesn't want any of her personal life or any of her aliases ruined or anything like that, why would she side with the people that would end up messing that up for her? I'm not 100% sure that I was happy with the explanation for that.
I mean, for most part, it's just her conscience, right? Like,
yeah, she definitely feels bad and understands both sides, and obviously later in the film she ends up letting Cap get away. But
she said she'd help him find him, not catch him.
Yeah, she did say that. Yeah, I think that she seems like one of those characters that she's willing to let things play out, but might not necessarily accept it fully. So like she'll let it play out, she'll play along, but if something ever happens that she doesn't agree with, she'll break rank. So
I can see that too.
So so I guess it kind of works for her character, but I didn't see any of that in the film. I'm just extrapolating that from what I know about her. So, which is kind of nice that they didn't just telegraph it. But
precisely, yeah.
But then again, I don't know if that'll actually be the case or not. So I guess we'll see.
I guess we will, yeah.
So, okay, what is the one thing that you really want to talk about right now?
That I need to talk about the writing.
Okay.
I need to. I wish I had more. A better adjective than just like superb or amazing. But it's just perfect for the world. It's how you write this type of movie. Like I was not when we did our little pre-show thing, pre-review, preview, review, whatever. I said I didn't really have too many concerns or something like that as far as the lines of pacing would go, and it is perfectly paced. You have pretty much an action set piece, pretty much to some extent or another, about every 20-25 minutes. It feels like just some, of course, more drawn out than others, but it's just this perfect ebb and flow of peaks and valleys, and then on a more detailed surface, just the balance of humor with exposition, and just balancing that way out, and just trying to get the issues across, but always cutting it with humor, like every scene. And once again, Tony Stark just killing it in the one-liner department. I need to see it again so I can remember all of them, but. He gets to steal the show many times as far as that goes. And
he actually wasn't supposed to be in it that much. He was going to be more of a bit character, at least until the very end. But he basically went and petitioned to have a bigger role because he felt that the character would have a lot more to bring. And he does, and he does very well in it. Now, speaking of the writing, the people that wrote the screenplay, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, they have written all three Captain America films. They wrote Thor: The Dark World, and they are writing, or have written, or however you want to do it, both of the Infinity War films. So, if they keep it up, this should actually be a really cool third film. Third Avengers film. Third/fourth. However, we're going to have to come up with a weird metric for this, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, in that case, then, before we move on to anything else, so obviously you really like the writing and how the characters were all together. How would you rank? Let's call this an Avengers film. How would you rank the three Avengers films?
I would go. Let's see. I mean, okay, so we're calling this one an Avengers film right now.
Assuming this is an Avengers film, which it basically is. Let's say so.
1, 3, 2.
You say 1, 3, 2?
1, 3, 2.
Okay. I can see that. I would
this is too close to say, like, it's too close, too recent to put it at 1 for me right now.
Yeah, I would put it on par with the first one.
Yeah. So I would say maybe just behind if I'm going to amend that. But Age of Ultron was good, but it certainly missed some marks.
Age of Ultron had so many little things just that niggled that, unfortunately.
It wasn't the best effort put forward, but still better than what those other guys are doing. Someone keep track of all these.
That would be interesting.
Just Yeah.
Or just a little... Wah, wah.
Or just, can we put in a little like a Batman sound effect from the 60s TV show?
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about one of my favorite characters that was introduced in this.
I can only imagine you're about to say Spider-Man.
Black Panther. Wrong again, sir. Yeah. I love Black Panther. Yeah. I thought it was a terrific introduction.
Yeah. So much information given to you, but not explained. For instance, the fact that his suit is made from vibranium.
So we don't know a whole lot of the origin of this character. At least from this film, you can't gather a whole lot.
Yes, unless you're familiar with the comics and the history of Wakanda, which you're going to go into in the Black Panther film when that comes out.
Yeah.
Then you aren't going to know what's going on other than what's presented to you, and that's good. That's how you build these worlds.
Exactly. Were you a fan of the costume?
Outfit? I thought it was very well done. Actually, this is going to sound a little bit random, but kind of reminded me of one of the Black Power Rangers suits. Just a little.
All right.
Kind of had that vibe. I mean, obviously different enough, and the various things in there. My wife did sort of turn to me the second she saw it on screen and was like, Catwoman's in this? Like, no.
It would have been amazing to take off the helmet and it's just Halle Berry.
Yeah, just take that, and just wrong film.
Hear everyone scream in the theater. Like, what have they done to this?
Yeah, no, it was like, wrong film, wrong series, wrong company, no.
And I don't know why that was my Catwoman, but I was just going with the worst representation, I guess. Yeah. Of course, I mean, if it was Anne Hathaway, I guess I'd be okay with that. But yeah, what was his name again? Yeah, Chadwick Boseman or whatever. I think he just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I did love that we were introduced to him as, obviously Prince and then King before you even saw the suit or the character, period. Like that, there was no this person exists and then you saw him and then it was revealed that he was there. It was just like, no,
we're discovering him as the Avengers are.
Exactly.
They're like, who was this other guy on the roof fighting?
Yeah. And I genuinely liked that he added the rogue element. So obviously Bucky's trying to run away and then Steve Rogers is trying to get him. And then Black Panther turns up as well, and all of them are being pursued by the other guys. So it was just this big thing of so many sides coming together, and it didn't get confusing.
That's just, like I said, just a testament to probably the writing and the editing, and the directing.
That's the thing. I think I made it sound more confusing than it was in the film.
Probably. I don't know.
But yeah, it was really well handled, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more from the character, especially given that you saw towards the end. And in case you haven't figured it out at this point, we're just spoiling everything in the film.
We probably need to start doing that at the top, because this is going to be someone's first episode, just as all of the episodes are.
So at the end of the film, he comes to the realization that the person that he has been searching for and promising that he would kill throughout the entire film wasn't the person that was responsible for killing his father. And
something that we've known quite early on.
But he finds this out and then he uses this information properly, gives up on his search for killing that person, and brings the person that did it to justice rather than killing him, which was his original intent. So he's someone that grows within this film.
Exactly.
And it's something you don't see a lot of.
I love that. He just, it's... I forget the exact lines of dialogue, but it's something like it's a cycle or vengeance, or you gotta stop the cycle of vengeance.
He points out, Iron Man is consumed with vengeance, and Captain America consumed with vengeance. I would not let it rule me anymore. So
just a terrific moment. Many terrific moments in this film,
and then you also got to see, obviously, he may not have superpowers, but he definitely has advanced reflexes because he's able to get his hand between the gun and the guy's chin before he pulls the trigger. Like it's one of those things of like, okay, we saw him fighting really well, but he's also clearly honed his abilities there.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that solo project.
Yeah. Well, and
where would you like to?
Well, we might as well move on to the other one then.
Oh, the introduction of
Aunt May. Yes, Marissa Tomei.
yes, the best. For all of 3 minutes maybe.
Yes.
But.
Okay, so since I brought Aunt May up,
who is she aunt to?
Well, she is the aunt of Peter Parker, as anyone that knows Spider-Man will know. However, this Aunt May is not about 60 years older.
And looks good. Marissa Tomei is still looking good.
So it was a very random thing. I did not expect Aunt May to be that young, and I'm glad she was, because why has Aunt May always been so much older?
That would be more like a great aunt. I mean, you can still call that person an aunt, but yeah, to be like your parents' sibling or whatever, that is, the appropriate age for her.
Yeah, I mean, it actually
not a
works
witherly
out.
old woman, on a cane, walking around with a cane or whatever.
I mean, Aunt May would take offense to that in the comics, but yeah.
Just, tell her to calm down.
But anyway, yes. And I don't know if you caught this, people, but this is Spider-Man being introduced without a 10-minute flashback, without extensive backstory given.
Without seeing Uncle Ben. Any of that business.
Yeah, this is him introduced 6 months into having his abilities.
Yes, this is being introduced to an audience that they respect enough to know the backstory of these characters by now. Yeah, or at least these big characters by now.
And they probably listen to everyone saying, we don't want backstory.
Yes.
And I fully admit I was incorrect when I was saying that I was of the assumption that this Spider-Man was supposed to have been being Spider-Man for a while now, because when they were originally putting out information about this film, that's what they were going with. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they changed their minds, and I'm glad I didn't find that out. So, if you happen to listen to a pre-war thing and then listen to this, yes, this is me saying I got that wrong. I corrected myself.
Real shit, folks. Yeah. It doesn't happen often.
It does not. This might be the first time. But this was the best Spider-Man that I've ever seen put on film.
And you just said that perfectly. Yeah. Because I need to eat some crow as well, because on our little pre-show thing, that was my only concern with this film, really, was Spider-Man's involvement. Yeah. Because, like I said, I haven't been a big fan of that character up until this point. He's still not going to be my favorite in this world. It's just his inherent... all of his inherent qualities are just not enough for me to make him a favorite. No. But this is the best representation of Spider-Man that I've seen.
Yeah.
Not overly whiny, just intelligent and funny. Just obviously, comes across new to the game. They don't beat around it too long, and I would say he is used perfectly in this movie.
Yeah,
he's not shoehorned into scenes where he doesn't belong. Looking at you again, where you just shove Wonder Woman or Lois Lane into every damn scene that they don't need to be in. But yeah, he was used minimally, but with great effect.
Yeah. And the best thing about it was, I think my favorite bit involving him is when they're in the terminal and he's fighting Bucky and Falcon, and he's just like, oh wow, is this that? And then Falcon just turns around and says, in a fight there's not normally this much talking. And it's like, well, clearly you've never read a Spider-Man comic, because in his fights there are a lot of talking.
Yeah, that's how he fights.
And it was a fantastic. It was both them taking the piss out of the fact that Spider-Man talks a lot, but also staying true to that. And
acknowledging it. Yeah, just
and of course he is as he says in the film, he's trying to impress Tony Stark. This is what he's trying to do, and so many digs as well at the fact that how young he is when he's like, have you guys seen that really old film?
Yeah, see, that was one of his only lines of dialogue that kind of annoyed me. I'm like, yeah, I get it, you're young. But
yeah, but that is one thing that with Peter Parker, when he's Spider-Man, especially at the beginning, he is just that kind of chatterbox and not very knowledgeable and just trying to do his best. So I fully got that. I did think it was a little odd that was the way they went with it, because I feel like he would know that. You can't just say that really old film and just mean Star Wars. Like, that's not him.
I mean, we can circle back to Spider-Man if we need to, but what was that in reference to, that movie? What character was that plan evolved around?
I don't know.
Possibly one of the best freaking characters in... Oh, I got it. Alright, I love it. I love Ant-Man. Alright, I gotta say it. Once again, they handled all the introductions of these characters so well.
Yeah.
Just stayed true to who those characters are, even the new ones. You know, like, if we're not familiar with them, still done in subtle fashions, and just, I don't know. But Ant-Man, I mean, yeah, it's just Paul Rudd being, it was Scott, right?
Yeah, Scott Lang.
Yes, just that. Because you might think, well, that's, that Ant-Man was a very funny movie, obviously. I think at the time I called it a comedy with superheroes, something along that line.
Well,
probably not one of, many people probably refer to it as that. But balancing these different types of humor had to have been a trick.
Yeah.
It plays off perfectly.
No, yeah, and that's the whole thing of him throwing it's like, oh, I thought it was a water truck.
Yeah, and oh my god, yeah, so giant Ant-Man was amazing.
And I was talking with my wife and a couple of other people about this after we saw this. I was wondering if they were ever going to do giant Ant-Man, because in the comics, Ant-Man can grow really, really small or be really, really big. And they didn't touch on that at all in the Ant-Man.
I just wish Hulk had been in this fight for Hulk and giant Ant-Man to have a little head-to-head. Of course, Hulk would have won. Of course, but I just want to see Ant-Man freak out about it. Yeah. And then especially then when he's to the micro size, when he's running around in Tony's suit, which is just great. I mean,
yeah. So, you're gonna have someone look at that.
I need a thesaurus. Great and amazing are all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
The whole airport scene, that's the one we're referring to.
Yes, exactly.
Which is where you have the two
proverbial
lineups.
Shit hits the proverbial fan.
That is one of the best ensemble action scenes I have ever seen. The pacing is fantastic. The way that they cut between the two, like, they'll have two people fighting, and then you'll see a blur of one person going by, and then it just kind of switches to them.
Yeah. I mean, at least upon initial viewing, it logically seems to make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple viewings might show a couple of continuity errors, but as of right now, it was played out perfectly.
Yeah, and also brought up a couple of interesting points. Vision caused Rhodey's accident. Like, he didn't know that was going to happen. There's even a point where he says that he didn't realise that it could happen. And he is still learning about the stone that's in his head, which he needs to lose at some point. So this, so we'll get to that, I guess, during Infinity War.
But yeah, just the way the environment was used in that scene.
They each person used their powers in a relatively new way at some point. So you didn't just see everything you've already seen in a different way. It was just really
everyone
nice.
gets their moment to shine. It's not just like, oh, who cares about Black Widow? No, Black Widow kicks ass in this movie. She has a couple of sequences where she just kicks ass. Hawkeye, who I've been begging to be killed off for a long time, he has some great moments. Arrow Man, I think, is him in reverse too, which is one of the best jabs. I love that one.
Yeah, I think that when Scott Lang is getting out of the van, he's like, wow, Captain America, yeah, I love you. And turns around like, you're great too, but you're Captain America.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, it was. I don't think we can say it enough. Like, these people know how to handle all of these characters on screen at the same time. Like it's. I don't. I don't think I want any Marvel ensemble film not written by these people. At this point, I don't think. I mean, I'm happy to be proved wrong, but these guys seem to be the ones that fully understand how you write these guys together. Yeah. Apologies to Joss Whedon. I mean, you did well.
Yeah, you did you did a good job. Still, it's going to be better than anything that DC is going to be showing us, probably. I mean, still hopes for Suicide Squad, but but yeah, this is how you do it. They've spent years developing these characters with their own movies, so that they can work so well together.
Yeah,
in these collaborations.
Yeah, and it's. That this whole like phases and all this stuff, it was either going to fall flat on its face or work out fantastically. And luckily for us,
we know which way it is. Yes, which way that has gone.
Now, before I think you got a couple more things.
But
and I've just got one other thing that I have to bring up because
this is your theater.
That'll be following it.
Okay, gotcha.
So one other thing in the film. The second I saw it, something popped into my head, and I had to talk about it now. Okay. So they're at the point when Captain America, Bucky, and Falcon, and I'm going to use those names for a reason that will become very clear in a second, they meet up with the person that did pretend to be Steve Rogers' next-door neighbor in Winter Soldier, who I had forgotten about until they say one line where something earlier in the film. They meet up with her, and she gives them back their equipment. And so you got Bucky in the back seat of this Volkswagen Beetle, and you got Falcon in the front seat. And so you get this nice little... Again, it's breaking up all of the exposition that you're getting with Cap and the girl by cutting back to them. It's like, can you move your seat up? No.
Yeah.
And then,
probably one of the biggest laughs in our theater.
And then there's a point when Captain America kisses her, and it cuts back to Bucky and Falcon, and they're just kind of nodding together. And in that second, I got an image in my head of Bucky and Falcon, a cop drama spin-off.
Oh, how fantastic would that be?
and those are the names. Like you got Detective Bucky and Detective Falcon out working on the, kind of a Starsky and Hutch type thing.
Oh, please. Someone write some fan fiction for that. Don't make them, they don't have to get in the sheets, okay? Fan fiction weirdos.
Yeah, that would be slash fiction, I believe you're referring
to. Oh my god, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
This is one thing of like,
maybe retirement, they can do that.
Yeah, I saw that and I just had this big smile break across. I was like, I'm watching an 80s film right now.
It'd be a 70s sitcom, Bucky and the Bird.
Oh, there you go. Two private eyes.
Oh, my God, that's fantastic. So, yes, I believe for a change, you have a theater experience you'd like to share?
I do. I'll try and not go too long on this.
Okay.
Because I know there's a couple of things we just want to hit as well.
Brush up on, yeah.
But, yes. So, I went to the cinema. This was Saturday, and we go in. It was me and my wife, and we were meeting two other people. So me and my wife go in. We sit down. I have the little row of 4 seats just off to the side, and she goes off to wait for them to turn up. And maybe 3 minutes after she goes off, I hear. Somebody brought somebody brought a 6-month-old baby to watch Captain America: Civil War.
Oh, babies love Civil War.
Yes, exactly.
Did you not know that fact?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Somebody brought a baby to watch a superhero action film. I'm
so happy this isn't me, because I would be losing it.
I was so lucky that this kid did not start kicking off until the credits.
Really? It was quiet till then?
I think there was the occasional blip every now and again, but it wasn't until the credits started that it let rip. And it was... every single time I heard somebody, I was just... trying to find this person. Like, who would do this?
Selfish people that don't know how babies work.
Yeah, I mean,
you have a sitter, or you don't go out.
That's the thing. I haven't mentioned this yet on the podcast, but I will now. My wife is pregnant. We are expecting in the middle of October, which means there might be a little break at some point during that. But if we cannot find someone to watch a kid when there's a film that comes out that we want to see...
You're not going to ruin everyone else's day?
We're not going! Sorry, we'll wait till it comes out on DVD or something.
Airplanes are one thing you have to get from A to B, but this is entertainment. Pure entertainment.
Yes, I'm not going to take a completely unknown quantity that will freak out at loud sounds and all this
and those
into a darkened
loud.
room that is so loud that I don't need my hearing aids to listen to it. Like,
not to mention babies are just developing all that stuff, so you could be doing hearing damage.
Yeah, that and like you might end up just giving it claustrophobia because every time it's in a small dark space, there's loud noises. Like, what are you doing?
Noises. Yeah. Oh my god.
So
I think I've only had the one baby experience, but it was. Yeah, they're not enjoyable.
I mean,
you're very fortunate. Yeah,
as I said, I really lucked out of that, and I don't know if maybe they took the baby out every time it kind of started, and then at the credits they just didn't bother.
So it wasn't like directly a row behind you; it was a little bit up behind you.
As far as I know, it was on the other end of the theater.
She, I'll be a little respectful.
Yeah, it was. Okay. It's that pitch that it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where it is. You hear it, and the second I heard that. Like, as we're waiting for the two other people to turn up before the trailers have even started, and you just hear that whine. It's like, no, what are you doing? this is gonna go so badly.
Yes, like this. Yeah, have a baby in Mordecai all you want. It's only going to improve the experience. I want to cry too, baby. I just can't summon the tears. I'm too pissed off. But not in a what it's going to potentially, and now that we know, be a great movie or a very, at least at the very least, a very fun experience. Yeah. So to have that gamble. Very fortunate for you, sir.
I was
go as badly as it could.
Yeah, when I heard that, I was fully. I just kind of gave up. I was like, I'm going to have moments of this ruined by that, and luckily that wasn't the case. But
because there's so many of those moments of witty dialogue. You're like one little, and you're like, what the fuck did you just say?
I'll admit there were a couple of little lines that were just too quiet for me to fully catch. Anyway, so having something else that I don't know. But anyway, yes. Too Long Didn't Read version of that is don't take babies in to see loud action films.
I'll just say from my perspective, if you have an argument for it, I don't want to hear it. Maybe Paul will, but there is no argument for it.
Yes. I mean, maybe if you have
a
bubble
really a Marvel fan.
Look, we
couldn't wait for the Blu-ray.
We're giving it the Captain America onesie.
No one forced you to go to that theater. You chose. You bought tickets. And you brought your baby. So,
all right. So what else have you got down there?
I just got a little just clean up here. I don't have a whole lot left, but I told Paul before we started recording that in case this wasn't enough fun for you, when you are able to watch it at home, I would like to play the Not Gonna Stop drinking game. Because that has to be the most repeated line of dialogue, I think, in the film. I wish I'd kept track, but there's got to be at least 5, 6, 7 utterances of that.
Originally you were telling me it was going to be he's
not going to stop. But you pointed out, there's.
I said that there's a couple of I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
So if you
And it's not always the same character. It's not always who you think it is. So
yeah, I mean, most of the time it is.
Most of it is, yeah.
Sometimes it isn't. So, so yeah, that could be interesting.
Maybe every time, do a shot every time you say that. And then be on the carpet by the time the movie's over. But the other thing I just want to talk about is, I mean, of course, we've talked about the writing. And I think we've talked about the visuals for a little extent, but there were so many just iconic, just visual moments in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, some that, of course, were spoiled by the trailers. Mm-hmm. Trailers, which, you know, I've kind of been in a trailer blackout for this film for the past few weeks, just because I've seen it so many times. But just, especially with Cap and Iron Man, you know, just with the blasts and the shield, and then
some great choreography.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you know, this is I wrote down a note that just said "fuck," and I crossed it out. But yes, of course, like we've said, this is a spoiler cast, as all are. But the moment when Cap slams his shield into Iron Man's little nerve center, as it is, I thought he was done. I thought that was pretty much going to be lights out for Iron Man. And I mean, I don't. It's mixed feelings because I don't want anyone to die in this world, but knowing that no one's going to die kind of takes away a little bit of that venom, you know, a little bit of the sting. Like, I thought Rhodey was dead too. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, so they're not going to kill Iron Man. I mean, this is out of sequence, but I thought, you know. Once they didn't kill War Machine, I thought, oh my god, are they really going to do that? But thankfully,
I do like that they basically disabled someone. Like, obviously, Tony Stark is going to be able to use technology at his company to give him the ability to walk just fine eventually, but I really do like that they actually did that. You don't get that a lot. Normally, the heroes walk away just fine.
Do we have a dollar figure on Tony Stark's wealth? Because
it must be in the trillions.
It must be, because I mean, at the beginning of the film, he's funding all of these MIT.
He fully funds all about of 200 projects, people's projects,
which that has to be billions.
Yeah,
to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's charity. So you're not doing the bulk. You know, you're not spending, unless you're crazy Bill Gates. You're not, which thank you, Bill Gates, of course, but, for trying to get rid of malaria and all that. But to spend, you're not going to spend the bulk of, or at least Tony Stark, that character's not going to spend the bulk of his wealth on charity. That's going to be
actually at this point, maybe,
but still, that was, I mean. Like I say, awfully generous.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's got to be, he's got to be a trillionaire.
Or at least he was. Maybe now he's just a billionaire.
Yeah. Oh, darn. Yes, he lost a comma. Ooh.
Yeah.
Although
I will say, obviously, we touched on the visuals there. Mm-hmm. On top of having some fantastic CGI and all this stuff, I did think that Spider-Man was not that great with the CG. Like he was the most obvious CG character.
I don't know if that's just the nature of the suit, like how the suit looks, because it's not, you know, metallic or hard, you know, or I don't know.
It could be because it's so vibrant, red and blue. But yeah, he seemed the most obvious CG out of the lot.
And I told you that first time he popped up in the trailer that I thought that looked CG, but that you said was practical.
That's it. With the exception of the eyes, that one was practical. But when he's just flinging through the terminal, especially, that was when it really looked. Oh, there's
the CG. Still looks better than the first Spider-Man.
Yes. I'll grant you that.
With Tobey Maguire, you know, flying through New York or whatever.
Yeah, and I said it in the last thing we put out. I'll say it again. Spider-Man 2, one of the best villains of all time. But
one of the best comic book movies of all time. Yeah.
But yes, anyway, I did find it a little jarring sometimes when he was on screen, because it was like, okay, everyone else is fairly good. Even Ant-Man, giant Ant-Man, looked really good and like really looked like he was in that world. And then you had Spidey swinging around, and it was like, okay, that one not quite so much, but
but like I said, he wasn't in too much of the film, at least not in the suit. And that
worked.
It wasn't a big detractor, but it's certainly like you were saying, wasn't the best as far as the graphics could have been. But I just had one other point to touch on. You might have more, but the cameos by Stan Lee, I think, are getting better and better.
Yes.
I think I loved Daredevil, of course, or not Daredevil. You know what I mean? Deadpool.
Deadpool.
Why was I saying Daredevil? Yeah.
I don't know.
The D just throws it. But this one. Would you like to? I'll let you have the honor of saying what the joke is.
All right. Well, he turns up as a UPS guy, and he has a parcel, and he's like, is this where I find Tony Stank? And then, of course, you've got, is it Rhodey? It's like, I'm never letting that one go.
Was it, I
got a table here for Mr. Stank.
Yes, and so of course I had to write down Mr. Stank. So that was, because I was like about halfway through, I'm like, where are they going to throw Stan Lee into this? And all the way to the very end of the movie.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and it did start to make me wonder though, because again, I know it's something I said before, but there's a thing I read where it was one day we're going to be watching a Marvel film and something's not going to seem quite right until the credits start and it says in memory of Stan Lee.
That's going to be a rough day. Yeah.
And I was kind of like, did I miss a news article where? And then they're
not going to do like a CG Stan Lee, are they? That'd be weird. Yeah, like a Paul Walker situation or something.
I think what'll probably happen is they'll have either a portrait of him somewhere or a statue that looked like him. They'll have something that looks like him but isn't just a 3D like him somewhere.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I think we should just bring up before we wrap up with
our ratings,
is the end credit scene.
I was going to just ask on this.
There are two of them in this one. There's like mid credit, which is actually more like 1/4 credits, and that is Bucky is being put on ice, quite literally, until they can get rid of the programming in his head that makes him do the things he does, and you see Wakanda and the Black Panther idol and all of that stuff. So it's a cool looking world, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it in Black Panther. And then at the very end, you had Peter Parker nursing his black eye and playing with something that Tony gave him, and obviously more Aunt May, because she comes in and it's like, what happened? It's like, some guy called Steve. Yeah, and he had this really big guy with him, and a nice little callback to this thing. Yeah, and then you saw what was happening. He was trying to hide. His watch was showing a Spidey symbol. It was projecting it onto the ceiling, and for those of you that don't know, that is directly referencing something from the original comics, where Spidey, for reasons I don't fully understand, would project an image of the Spidey face onto the ground to let bad guys know that he was out and about and that he was coming for them.
Kind of the opposite of the bat signal. Down the ground, not up in the sky.
Yeah, rather than, Batman, we need you. It's more, bad guys, beware.
I'm coming.
And so it's like, okay. It's nice that that's in it. For a second when I saw it, I thought maybe it was like, is this going to be, rather than Tony Stark having that holographic interface, is this going to be like a new computer thing for him? But then I did a little bit of research. I was like, nope, it's just bad guys beware symbol. All right.
Yeah, that one. I guess if you're not aware of that, which I didn't think I was not. That scene was not the greatest for me. I definitely much preferred the Bucky scene.
Yeah, I mean, that, again, more fantastic use of Black Panther there.
Yeah, absolutely. And why can't they just burn that book with the magical phrases.
Yeah.
Like, none of his friends are going to be enough of a dick to program him. I would hope not.
Tony Stark might.
Yeah, just to, like, get him a beer or something trivial.
Yeah.
Ready to comply. Go buy me a case.
Yes, and then go stand in the corner.
Yes. But, oh well, I guess he's got to go under deep sleep. But I know there are parts of this that we enjoyed that we didn't get to. That's just kind of a testament to the film itself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
apologies to any of your favorite bits that we left out. But
yeah,
it's chock full of them, so too many to get to.
We're trying to make sure that you don't have an hour and a half of podcast to listen to. Mm-hmm. Now, I did put out, we're doing this, has anyone got anything to say? Unfortunately, not too many responses. We had one from the Last Row podcast, and they just said, haven't had the chance to see it yet, but looking forward to hearing what you guys all think. Well, yeah, thank you. And
hopefully that answered that.
Yes. Hopefully we let you know. Otherwise, you just skipped ahead to this, knowing where it was somehow. And the Back to the Podcast guys already have their episode out. I recommend going to listen to that. And I actually answered one of the questions they threw out during this. So there you go. You're welcome, guys.
All right.
And the only real thing that we got back was from 365 Flicks podcast on Twitter at 365FlicksPod, and they said, apart from convoluted plot, dodgy as hell CGI in places, lack of sympathy for anyone in it, and no payoff, I liked it.
No, okay. It's a little bit of a backhanded compliment, but
I kind of understand the no payoff, as it were, because obviously they've got the big fight, and it's not 100% resolved at the end, but it's not like Captain America has always been the film where the ending sets up something else. So at this point,
isn't an end of this is a continuation of a story. So
and some of the Marvel films do have more of a concrete ending than others, but this one definitely set up the fact that there's more to come, and that's what it was for. So I would argue that there is payoff, we just don't have it yet. And that's why we seem to be enjoying these Marvel films, is that they're just building this giant world around it now. So
exactly, yeah.
All right. So how about you go first for ratings?
Okay, ratings. So yeah, just a quick recap. Of course, perfect writing. I would put it at the pacing and edit. Some fast and quick edits, but I was able to follow for the most part. There's really not a whole lot I didn't like, other than maybe a couple of lines of dialogue that didn't hit. But really, there was no slow, boring parts for me. Yeah. Even like I said, the scenes of exposition were still handled really well, with the humor and not going too long with it. Yeah. Just get a little bit here, a little bit there, and let's move on with this action movie, because that's what it is. Yes. So let's get back to the action as quick as we can, and I appreciated that. I'm going to come in around, I would say, a minus. Been debating between a couple of options here. I'm going to kind of rate this for down the road, I think. Okay. I would say a minus 0.5.
I can see that, yeah. And for those of you that
don't know, real quick rating.
As we didn't say right at the beginning there, our rating system is a little unique, and some would say negative, and you are kind of right.
It is negative by nature because we're using negative numbers.
Yeah, but we say 0 is a perfect film, we can't find any flaws with it, period, and then we take away points up to we do have a tentative cap at minus 10. There have been a couple we've kind of gone past that. But in general, and we'll take off to start with just little niggles, so like minus 0.1, 0.2, so on. And then once you get further down, it's just like half, so we take off. Because, a negative 6.3 is the same as a negative 6.5.
Yeah,
so.
It's, the higher this, we get to 0, the closer we get to 0, there are just little discrepancies, like you were saying. So a minus 1 film versus a minus 0.5 film, or films we very much enjoyed.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah, we might not have been able to give it the 0.5 because of one other thing. So
yeah.
there you go.
So with that in mind,
okay, so
where would you be at?
Here we
with your
go.
wrap-up?
So I fully agree with you with the writing and the editing, the pacing, like all of it's fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it as we carry on.
Yep.
And I love seeing all of the characters, even though this was a Captain America film, and obviously he drove it. It was great to see all the others and the interplay. And I didn't really have too much of an issue with a lot of things. Obviously, I mentioned the Spidey CGI was a little off for me. But I think I'm going to come in at a minus 0.3.
All right.
Because I was thinking that it's an action superhero film. Like, can I say that? And it's like, yes, I can, because I genuinely couldn't find too much wrong with it. I don't even think the runtime was a problem, because they kept you entertained the entire time. So yeah, I think minus 0.3 for me.
All right, yeah. So obviously we both very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We'd be interested in hearing what your thoughts are on the film, what your favorite bits were, maybe.
Yeah, please do.
What you're looking forward to, maybe, with the franchise.
Yeah, we're always up for debate and conversation with anyone. So again, you can find us on Twitter at BlokeBusters, Facebook.com/BlokeBusters. You can email us if you want to really get a dialogue going at BlokeBusterPodcast@gmail.com. And we're on Instagram now. Hooray! Just search BlokeBusters. We're on there somewhere. And our website, which looks kind of nice, and hopefully you enjoy it too. It's blokebusters.webs.com. Alright, so I think that's it for me.
That's all for me as well.
Alright, well, I've been Paul.
And I've been Brian.
Here, folks.
Bye. Pickles in there.
Yeah, nothing down too.
Unique New York.
Peter Piper.
Brown.
So that Peter Piper picked up. You know this is going at the end, right?
Oh, you're recording! Shit!